think I was considering myself a god, that I could just touch the computer, do what I want, and it responds the way I needed it to. Right? It was just very interesting to me that day. I've been having a feeling. I typed my letter December. I just left it. I've typed the letter down. This is December. It's just to submit it. So I finally, someone with courage and sent it in February. I'm like, it's been a great time here, but I just hope you guys feel where, my line manager, could call, wow, it's actually so he's like, see, man, you actually miss me. See, I have from now, when I started on the experience, I have from now 30 days to change my mind, and we're going to fight management to really ensure that they keep me. I know, I was like, thanks for the offer, but I just think I have to I think what I've learned so far, first of all, is you actually you need to actually sell yourself. You have to be out there, tell your story yourself, right? People need to know you. This is who this is this person. It's this is the face behind this. These are the people behind this, right? On the personal level.
Before we get into today's episode, a quick one. If you are new here, welcome to Builders Block. If you have been here, thank you for staying with me. This podcast is for builders who want to learn directly from founders, builders, entrepreneurs in the African Web3 ecosystem, all about their journeys, the ups and downs, and what actually works. While you are here, I want you to do just two things to help move this forward. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on conversations that will actually improve the quality of your mind. Now, that's the only thing I will need from you to keep bringing high quality guests to the podcast. Secondly, I'd love you to drop a comment. Your thoughts might just inspire somebody out there watching this also. Thank you so much, Oghenekparobo, for joining me on the podcast today.
It's good to be here, OXPAMPAM. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Our guest today is the founder of Pollinet, a Solana-based mesh networking and transaction relay protocol, enabling wallets and dApps to function in low connectivity, censored, or offline environments. Really, really amazing infrastructure. We're going to be diving into the whole protocol and see what that actually means. And so it's great to have you here. One of the things we do at Builders Block is to understand the context into the builder's journey, how they grew up, and all of the background story. Tell us who you are and give us context into growing up, your family, and everything about your background.
All right. Thank you very much for that intro. Growing up, man. Okay, who am I? That's a very interesting question. Who am I? I think I consider myself a curious fellow, someone just curious, right? An explorer. I tend to just, get into research things, just understand things. Especially aside tech, right? I just read broadly. I've explored weird concepts, down back then, down to out of my curiosity, back to lucid dreams, astral projections, some all those creepy things, right? So it just shows I'm just this curious person. I think curiosity drives me much more. So growing up, I grew up in Warri Delta State. I'm a Warri boy, and I might not look like it, but I think the fact not looking like it means I've tried a lot in my rebranding. If I say, there's this thing around Warri. When you meet a Warri boy, when you speak, Warri boy. Maybe until we switch to Pidgin, I'm like, okay, what's going on? Right. So yeah, so from a family of four, I'm the eldest son in my family, and I think I basically grew up around adults, right? My father, in his clique of friends, I was almost the first son, right, in those cliques. So I grew up with my uncles, in the midst of men. I don't know. I think that might have shaped me, my sense of reasoning a bit. I tend to not really overthink, but be very logical, analyze things from so many standpoints, and that. So back then, okay, I schooled in Delta State, Warri. My entire primary, secondary school, I think, yeah. I finished secondary school back then, 2012, if I'm not mistaken, 2012. I met amazing friends along the way. I think like many of us are still friends until this moment. Like guys that you can just call, when something bad happened to you, they call you to check in. Oh, I see alive. Since when they find out that you're alive, and we start laughing at everything. Like it just made life very easy. It made life very easy when for friends you could laugh with. So I think those are some of the gifts I actually had early, like genuine friends you can actually share, talk to, actually laugh with. My journey back then, I think 2012 actually got me into tech. So that's when actually after Jam, there was this thing around Jam, like Jam will jam you. So I think the generation before us, they actually sold us a lie, right? There was this we call it a myth around Jam, that Jam is difficult, it's the Jam. So many of us, like, we had that mindset already, like, oh, Jam is this. Man, we went in, I think out of fears, many people actually flopped. Like, man, we like, fades. Like, I think failure is another good teacher that I've had. Like, man, it was terrible. It was nasty. It was nasty. But then that actually enrolled me in NIIT. It was like a school to actually learn programming. So I actually got into tech, like programming. But before then, I was just this curious kid that actually liked electrical things. I don't know. So back then when they get us toys, like my toys don't usually last because I take them apart to see what's going on inside, like the rotor and the rest. Like try to make my own car, try building an helicopter one time, tried building a boat like with call it Flutter back then in Warri. Like so carved it, added weights. I did not even know for those buoyancy and those things. I was just okay, enough weight to actually get it to be stable, then created like a paddle, So that's just how I've been, right? I even earned me one of the titles from my uncle, damage clerk. You just call me damage clerk because I'm always destroying things to actually what is inside. Like a toy is working, I'm like, my mind is like, okay, what is inside this thing? Like, what is going on inside it? Mostly, I try to take it apart to if I can bring it back together, and it never comes together just the way you take it apart. So basically, that's just how I've been, like life, my upbringing, right? Back then, 2012, right, got into programming, got introduced to Java desktop development. I think back then it was a 6 months, either a 6 months or a 7 months course. I can't really remember the duration, but it was just so very intriguing that I think I was considering myself a god, that I could just touch the computer, do what I want, and it responds the way I needed it to, right? It was just very interesting to me that day. I think before the pursuit for money and, recognition and the rest, it was just these curious kids that just, before that I could create, like I had this creator. So that was basically the initial drive back then. I think as time went by, when I finished back then, I finished in NIIT. Like I think I did so good, and they were actually pushing me to become like an instructor, right? So, and my parents did not agree. Like, no, you're going to school. African parents, man, you must go to school. You must go to school, right? So I was really interested in it. So, but I think I went to that period. My laptop was stolen, right? And I lost my system. Like coming from, I see my background. We're more of like a middle class ish, Mapo. We're not Nepo, but we're not Lapo, but right. So getting a new system it actually took a long time, right? And back then I just had my textbooks, so I kept trying to read programming, like the irony, like read programming. I was just deceiving myself. The more I tried to read, the more it left. Like the faster it left. Eventually, I just left it. Like, come on, you know what? Once I get the system, I'll come back again. Right. So back then I was in Delso. I was doing like a Delso degree program. I think that was 2013. If I'm not mistaken, towards the end of 2013. Delso degree program, and I had a lot of issues back then in school due to some name issues. I wasn't able to write Delso, the final exam, because I literally kicked out issues upon issues. Like I think that actually traumatized me. Name issues, like it took a toll on me. Even followed me down to my time in Uniben. Like it fucked me up real good. Fucked me up real good. So after that time, I was able to. My dad got me a new laptop. It's okay. I was like, okay, yes, no programming. Let's get back to what I was saying. I got back and man, what I had initially learned, they were out. I was struggling to pick up, and in the course of exploring, I really came across Android development. Fast forward, I was now like, I think I got into like University of Benin, like a diploma course, maritime. It was like a 2-year course back then. So I started Android development. I think so far that's one of the textbook I've actually finished in terms of programming end to end. And that was I think Oreo teaches Android. Yes, I can't remember what edition, but Oreo teaches Android. You know, Oreo actually had like lots of series of books across different languages. That was one of the books I actually finished, and because I don't know, there was just something about that book. It was just so interesting. The delivery, the hands-on experience, and all. So I was in Port Harcourt. My dad works in Port Harcourt. Like we live in Warri, so he comes home every weekend. That guy is inspiring. I know he does it every weekend, from week 1 down to week 52. Every week. Like kudos to him. So I think I just went to stay in Port Harcourt back then. So that's where I was consuming a textbook. I was consuming a textbook, then, conversation with my friends and all. I got like an idea, like to build a tailor record book, e-record book. So I actually call it Detailer back then. Like it's just so funny. Look at the name now, and my current part, Detailer, decentralized tailor. Like it looks planned, right? So I was learning Java while working on that project back then. You know, when Nigeria Tailor has shown you Shege, you start thinking of solutions. So I think one thing about me, like I know about me, like majority of the things I've worked on mainly stem from like my personal experience, like maybe some problems I've run into and how I want to actually solve this problem. I just want to provide solution to this problem. So that's one of them, Detailer. So I was building Detailer back then. I found out about Firebase, like a backend as a service. I researched it, Firebase authentication, Firebase collections, and the likes, real-time DB. So basically, I was able to whip up the app together. That was my first ever app. So by this time, I had gotten into like University of Benin, right? I did like a diploma, then transitioned to like a undergrad / structural engineering. So initially, speaking about my like schooling, I wanted to be an aeronautic engineer. You know, mostly we just list dream, forgetting your environment. Aeronautic engineer. So little by little, I was reading about planes, sonic, subsonic, transonic. I even told my dad to we printed like a one pamphlet about planes. I was feeling like an engineer. But as time goes on, reality is setting that where will you? The course is not a very rampant course in Nigeria, no. So I had to change the course to electrical engineering. Initially, computer engineering. I wanted to go computer engineering. But someone was about me like, oh, why don't you go for electrical engineering? It also has computer engineering. You've seen it, and it's more. I'm like, okay, makes sense. So I went for electrical engineering. But as you have it, because you apply for most times, it's not what your school will give you. So you apply for one thing, the school will give you that conscience and all. So they gave me structural engineering. Structural engineering. It was not really a bad course. It was quite new. If you actually look at structural engineering, it's actually a very, very interesting course because it cuts across almost all spans of engineering, aeronautic, maritime, nautica, structures and the rest. So back there, I was like, after my first year, I'm going to do a transfer. But I actually ended up I actually just fell in love with the whole department, and that's how I actually went on. But while I was working on this app, Detailer, I was my 100 level, right? I launched the app, on Google Play Store. So to my coursemate then, when I dropped in my group chats, my coursemate then, it was just very nice. Imagine knowing somebody that has an app on Google Play Store, it was this bragging right, people, they're dropping comment reviews 5.0, this is the best tailor. Even though some person that don't even know how to do jack shit on tailoring machine, they cannot even thread needle. They're like, oh, I've used this app, you're shilling the product. This is a very good product. Increase my productivity by this. I think I had over 50 plus downloads. It was just so nice that wow, people downloading. When I went back to Warri, then I printed the shirts, the t-shirts, detailer, myself and my friend Benjamin. Yeah, if I take one shirt, tailoring shop to advertise the app. Oh, there's this app I worked on. This is it. So this is what it does. People are like, wow, very interesting. Yeah, that's cool. We downloaded the app for them, set up their accounts. So you have to use it's what about novel technology, right? And when people are used to this old traditional, it takes a whole lot to actually break that habit. So except for those that are willing to listen. So retention rate was very low, but I think that was we tried our best. That's our best shot at my first products, basically, right? It was eye-opening and it was interesting. It was interesting.
I think in all of this, right, one thing has been reoccurring and prevalent is that you are a very, very curious person. From breaking things apart and coupling them, to being curious about things that you love. Even earlier on, before the pod, we're talking about the taste. I mean, I don't want to mention the taste stuff that you
Yeah.
sort of boils down to how curious and problem solving oriented that you are. Really, really interesting, right? But by any chance, I'm sure you must have all of these things are coupled into who you are, the curiosity part, and all of those things. And you've described yourself as that, which makes a lot of sense. I wanted to ask, what did you actually envision becoming while growing up? You already mentioned aeronautical engineering, and it did not sort of pan out. But then at the end of the day, right, you did structural engineering, which of course is encompassing, right? Um, yeah, amazing. Now, can you walk us through how you got into tech? Basically, you briefed it, which was about um your dad enrolling you into NIIT. What prompted that decision that your dad had to say that let's take this boy to a tech school?
Okay, so what product decision? I think it's basically how I've always been at home. How they've actually perceives me these old curious kids, trying to break things apart because mobile phones back then, any mobile phone, no matter how we operate safe. Even those I've not seen before, I'm just getting holding for the first time. Just give me a minute or two, right? I start finding my way around. So I think they saw those things. I'm like, oh, this guy is actually very, let's say computer minded kind of. And thank God for the kind of parents back then. Let's just enroll him in this. Rather than him just, rather than him sit at home.
your parents spotted that ability and sort of like said, go down this rabbit hole and become this. Sometimes our parents want us to become what we ourselves or what they themselves want us. Like they say, go and do doctor, go and do whatever. But they sort of like spotted that, oh, this guy is a computer savvy. Let us enroll him into like NIIT. And then, is that the case for you?
I hope so. I hope so. Nigeria, African parents actually want, it's either you're a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, an embarrassment to the family. Right? Those are the 4 categories. Right? Or an engineer, yes. Right. So I really hope so. I think I've not actually sat down to ask my dad, my mom, like, what actually prompted to. So, but I think it's more of, right, I actually failed jam, right? And rather than me just sitting at home, wasting at home, like just doing nothing, this guy is like, he likes computer, he likes this. Let's just have him do this. It's something. So maybe you're thinking more of like, okay, this is actually related to engineering, right? At least you just move on with that, like, I never can tell. Or maybe they say, oh, this guy is very. So I think this is a conversation actually I need to have with my parents, like, okay, what prompted you, right? So maybe some other time I can actually answer that correctly. But it was a case of that was the case. That was the case. So that was actually my first introduction to programming, right? As a whole. So I think after that, I still had the curiosity for the flair for programming. Even when I lost my system, I kept on trying to keep in touch. I kept on trying to read. So when I got the system, okay, I went back into programming. Since I could not really do more of Java, to move like to mobile development. Those are like I just kept on building. Even when back then in school, I just kept on like building. I don't know, for some reason, kept on. Okay, I was pushing detailer. After detailer, I think I built like a website for a business. I met like some friends, like new friends I met along the way that were into programming also. Right, so we just started sharing ideas. So funny enough, how I met this guy is still back in NIIT, but I was there for a different reason because I'm currently now in structural engineering now. I had like a very bad. My system was stolen again, right? Me and stolen systems. So I had like this question was stolen. It was very annoying because what happened actually when I was not feeling fine. I went for 9th class because of to do an architectural exam. Like after the whole entire assignment, it was already daybreak. Like you just want to go. I was like, oh, let me just rest a bit. The Bible says, a little slumber, a little flooding in your funds, and pride will creep upon you. Man, it crept upon me. Like I just woke up and they carried my entire school bag. Like very wicked set of people. My phone, my charger, the extension, my book, everything. Like I woke up, I was the only one in the classroom. I was like, Jesus Christ, I ran outside. I like, what do I do? I was just scattered. So God that actually got like that particular course. My test, I think the test was like 30 marks. They gave me the lecturer. I was trying to explain to him. I will not say anything about that guy, but I was trying to explain to him. Guy, I think he gave me 2 or so. And he just dawned on me like, come on, this thing there, I cannot have carry over your. Before the exam, so I was actually when I was back in Warri. So I did like AutoCAD training. So then I learned, I think, I don't know how to use AutoCAD again how much. I stopped using it, but I learned AutoCAD, 2D design, so 3D design, engine. I was designing everything. So it was actually when I met this other friend. So they just talking about programming and that things. There's a classroom at the back. So I got interested in that conversation and I just joined in. So we kept on talking about ideas. So I just brought out my system, like, oh, I got a new system then. Like, there's this textbook, there's this and that, I was just bringing out materials I had. So he just looked at me and was like, he was like, our friendship will go far. Because it's material, like, even if it's just material, let's share. I already had this open mind because you're talking about, like, when I find you talking about something I actually like so much, like, I will start talking anime. We will start talking, arguing everything there. Program, like, So I was just very open. We were just talking, and I just liked the guy. We just liked each other. I'm like kind of mutual. And funny enough, there was a friend that actually told me of somebody, one of a friend I saw was a programmer. That was the person he was talking about. So I actually met the person and we became friends. Before three of us met, I was like, it's when we met that I was like, oh, like, I didn't know each other. I was like, it's a very long story. I actually met at things like that. So this, so that was the whole tech experience. From this person, I actually met I think the first startup I actually worked with back then was soft codes back in Warri. So it was from this like my new friend, his name's Oreva. So that actually introduced me to Jessica. Jessica then was like the CEO of the company. So this guy's good, this and that. So we got talking. I think the first day I went to the office, I met my now co-founder for Guava, Jazwy. So he was doing like IT, we were working there. So when I got there, we just got talking. Unfortunately for Jazwy, he was presenting a software he built for a e-laundry management system. And I think something about me is I don't call it overthinking though, but I start thinking of case scenario. Oh, can you do this? So when I was presenting it, I was looking at it. I was like, okay, so can you do this? What about to do this and do this? And like I was bringing out some scenarios. The guy was just looking at me. I was just asking questions like, okay, what can you do this? Okay, I want to do this. And I was asking. So from there, like I actually got to the soft codes, like mobile engineer. I think this was when I think it was 2019, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like 18 or 19, 18 or 19, right? So got into soft code. Like, initially, it was just like more of like contracts if the mobile apps will actually give to you. So little by little, we became more like closer, like professional relationship became like closer. But back then, I was doing like websites. I was using PHP because I think back then in school, during I think it's my 200 level or so, I tried building like a website, like a scholarship, a CBT website. I was trying to Java. It was really a whole lot. Like it was stressing me out back then, trying Hibernate, Spring Boot, and the rest. So when I called this whatever, more this is interesting. I was like, use PHP. Now PHP is very simple. This and that. So that's I got into PHP, and indeed it was actually very simple. So I was doing like soft websites and all. And so for soft code, little by little, I rose from like contracts, like a mobile engineer. I moved like to the lead, down to CTO. So I was actually like running. So like I was like one of the major decision makers there. Like so, the guy is doing something like, oh, I must have an input, right? I must have an input there. So my time in soft codes, we did like e-food app. So we distributed mobile food app to businesses, no cost, but we're going to get like a 4% commission from every purchase, right? I built Chicken Republic, Delta More, their mobile app back then. It was actually like a big thing back then in Warri, like over 1,000 plus downloads. Like it was trending, right? It was that good that the business could not even keep up with the order. I think it was like the tech came before they were actually operational ready, and that was why that failed. Because people will actually place orders hours later, they are still calling and calling and calling and calling, like, okay. So now just make why am I going to the straight up placing an order if you can't deliver, right? And so we launched the e-food program, we launched the e-shop program. So e-shop program was like we're giving like e-commerce stores to business people also. So at no cost, but you get commission from every sales. So those are some of like the initiatives I actually did back then in soft codes. We even took to the streets. Like it was actually a very cool workspace back then because like there was this connection. Everybody were like we're like ants working for a single goal. We even took to the streets with flyers like see us under the sun, going flyers, back of keke, back of buses, distributing flyers. And so because the idea back then was just to make the brand like homely, so that if anybody within that jurisdiction or at home is thinking tech, they should think about us. So once we conquered that, we can actually move. That was my line of thoughts. So that at least just the way, if you think about what now, what else can I use? Maybe sports in terms of clothing, you take Nike or Adidas, like it just feels very humbly. So that's like that was the relationship I was trying to build within the community and also as a tech company back then. And so that was just basically, so that was the transition, right, from NIIT, like the starting point of my programming journey down. I built Detailer, I built like the CVT platform. Even during my 300 level in school, I built like a e-voting platform, e-voting app because I was a member of ACCESS, Association of Civil and Structural Engineering Students. I was like a committee member within the committee, so electoral committee. So I built like I called it You Vote back then. I think it's still live on Firebase, but I can't even remember the login. So I built it back then in school for electronic voting. That was likely the very first electronic voting that happened in University of Benin Structural Engineering, Civil Engineering Department. The turnout was massive. People actually loved the idea, though they contested the result that there was some manipulations. So people who lost contested it, like they did the election by round paper the usual way. But the beauty of it was that the result came out the same way. Whoever won for electronic won manually. So it just shows that I'm a transparent somebody. Please, question of man stain my whites. So back then, I think in all this, right, during COVID, I think COVID was a very major point in my life, right? And so because back then I was using like Android native, but during COVID, I think that was when I actually did like a transition to Flutter. During COVID, the only thing I did at home back then was wake up, eat, study, just tutorials, and repeat, then go to bed. Like I was always like I lived on our dining table back then. Like so much so that my mom one day was like, she came to me like, what's going on? What am I doing with my laptop? Like, is this schoolwork? I said no. You know, parents, when you see you every time, they start thinking otherwise and all, right? So that was like where like I usually built my own Flutter tech, the Flutter stack. Like I actually built it. So immediately as I was learning, I was building apps Flutter was just very simple and easy to use. Like I was really apps were crying. Apps were crying. And paired up with my guy, Jasby. So I think our energy, like back then in soft codes, we're very close because we use different stack. He's a backend engineer, Python and all. We think alike. So most of the time when I have issues, I can speak to him. Solution will come out. If he has issues, he can speak to me. Solution will come out. Like, because we have this energy. Before AI, we were whipping up a full system over the night, weekends. Like, we were building full classrooms. It's like, we did an on Zusha. Now, I'm not even wondering how are we doing those things? Because if I think about it now, it's crazy. So basically, that was my tech journey so far. Okay. So I think from Flutter, let me just speak about how I got into Rust. And I think Rust was way back to 2022. Right, a friend of mine, all of us were back then in soft code, Mavis. This is like the co-convener of UDC, Untitled Designers Conference, Mavis Doza. So, 2022 was like the NFT era back then, like NFTs. So he hit me up like, see, they are working on an NFT collection called Coconut Head Gang. That you guys really want me to be the developer. So that's what I actually I had to look into Solana, looked into Rust, Coconut Candy, Metaplex, and the rest. I was just doing research around that, and I just liked. I think that's what actually just fell in love with Rust. I'm like, this actually makes a lot of sense. So eventually, I think I was able to whip up like a a website to mint NFTs and all. But if for some reasons the project did not really take off, designers they did a lot of design, but it did not really take off that much. So, but I already had this curiosity for Rust. So actually, I finished 2 Udemy Rust Udemy courses. Actually, the learning curve was very steep. It was different. So when I finished the 2 courses, I'm like, okay, what next? What am I doing with Rust now? Like, I kind of like, okay, you finish this course, okay, what next? So I didn't even know what to build with Rust. So I just left the Rust. I think I was working for Renmoney there. So I just focused on my 9 to 5 job that was feeding me at least. Let me focus on what is feeding me now. So Rust was just by the side. I was
Just to mention, before we continue, can you talk about how you got into like Renmoney? You mentioned you were working at soft code at a point, and then all of those. Can you connect the dots in that
okay.
regard?
So after I worked with soft code up to 2022, if I'm not mistaken. So I was like my main commitment back then. Like so much so that I was going like from every weekend, I was going to Warri, right? So there was a time where I was taking like a classes. I was teaching Android development every weekend. I'll leave Benin like maybe on Saturday in the morning, back to Warri. I'll do my class. I'll leave very late, like 7, 8, back to Benin. Like that was what I was doing. So I finished school. Like Uniben graduated, that was 2021. Yeah, 2021. So that period, I was still doing my computer with soft code was not really like more full time. It was not more of like a part time. I was just like some contracts and all. After school, initially I never actually wanted to serve. I don't know if it's open for this one online, but in case you just cleaning that in case. So I never liked NYC. The idea of NYC, I never liked it. So back then my friend was like, let us finish this once and for all. I was very laid back. I did not even want to go. I was like, I don't really give a fuck about this. So why I actually rushed to actually do my clearance? My dad called me and was like, oh, that ASU strike. We know the way ASU strike is will be long. I say, strike. I carried my things, okay, clearance, office to office, because nothing must make ASU strike meet me. Because ASU strike meets me then, it's over like 3, 4, 5, 6 months. You don't even know when. So that's actually I did clearance. I left service. I got posted to Lagos. I think yes. So before then, 2020, 2019, I actually fell ill, very ill, right? And like almost to death kind of illness, right? I actually did surgery in my spine back then. So when I got to camp, I came with my letter like that I'm undergoing physiotherapy, I should not be doing like very strenuous things now. So they actually granted me like leave exit. So I actually left camp. I did not stay in camp. So when I was going to Lagos, actually a friend of mine sent me like the job application. So I applied. So I applied for Renmoney. When I got to Lagos, yes, yeah. I'm missing out. So I applied for Renmoney back then in I think I was in Asaba. I need Asaba to stay, my friend, because I think because since I've been in school, right, my mindset has always been, once I graduate, I'm not going back to my parents' house. Like I've always had that mindset. So that's why I was just in school. So when I even left school, the plan was that I would leave school with savings like 3, 4, 5, 6 million naira, right? But they sent me transfer to come back home because they sent me TP. So I like, come and not go die for school. Because back then, there was this investment that I did. My friend was a trader, so I put my money in it. So it was like copy trades. So when he enters trades, he calculates my lot size, my own account enters trade, like inside the account. So we entered one trade like that. Like this guy is a good trader because he has grown his account from over many days into almost $450K. So even when he approached me, he's like, is he even doing me a favor? to help my life. It's my small money I have. Okay, I put it inside. Let's push that. Let's push that. It did not go so well. It did not go so well. I think I'll talk about that later. So I left Benin to Warri, but I did not stay in Warri. I went to Asaba to stay like in my friend's place and all. So from Asaba, I actually came back to Warri, just packed my things and I went to Lagos for camp. So when I was in Asaba, I actually applied for Renmoney. So when I got to Lagos, I just called my friends, like we met online. I just called him like, oh, I'm coming to Lagos, so like I'm for camp, I'll stay with you. Well, no problem. He was living in a second there. So when I got to camp, when I got to Lagos rather, I got to Lagos on Sunday. I was to go to camp on Monday. I did not go. I think this was God. This was orchestrating everything. I was to go to camp on Monday. I did not go. I was just really lazy because the idea of camp plus tires me out. On Tuesday, I'm to go to camp. I was to leave in the morning. I was still at home till 1 p.m. Like he was still at Fulagoro, Yaba. Camp is at Oghenekparobo. So I was still at home. Funny, I've arranged my bag. It was by the door. I just sat down like, camp. Like I was thinking about my phone was buzzed. Like meeting in 15 minutes. I was like, meeting. Which meeting is this? So I entered the meeting. Lo and behold, came back there. Paul was my line manager back then. Maiwa was like the head of engineering back then. Nonso, like meeting, like, oh, tell us about yourself. I started talking. I didn't even know what company I was interviewing for. That's the funniest part. I started talking, and these are like, okay, share your screen, live coding. Yeah, they give me a task. I started the app. They asked me a question. Oh, why my approach? Why this? Why that? Why that? I explained. So they were like, I should complete the assessment and send within 24 hours. Mind you, I was going to camp. I said, no problem. As soon as they dropped the call, I just whipped up the app. Like back there, I just learned clean architecture. Whipped up everything, did everything very fast. I think I left just by 4, so if not 5. I just did everything very fast because I have to go to camp that day. So I did everything very fast. Then I submitted and I went to camp. So after I left camp, I got a call from HR, like, oh, they're very impressed with my work, my pattern, this and that. So they give an offer. You know, we've always heard that when you're giving an offer, you do not accept the offer first. You know, you just try and fight back. That back then, when it was whoosh to me, because bro, at that point I don't really have a stable job. So I just came. I'm like, okay, so what's the possibility? They're like, okay, so this is like probation periods. I'm sure that I go through probation and everything, and like they are really impressed that they'll confirm me like increments and like, oh, no problem. So that's I started Renmoney. So I joined Renmoney as a copper. I was employed full-time in Renmoney, but I was a copper. But I was not employed as a copper. I was employed like a full-time. I went through probation. So when when they called me, confirmation, like I'll need to submit my NYC certificate, this and that. So I'm like, I'm still gonna go in NYC. They're like, that's a problem. Like they don't take care. I said, don't worry about it. I will handle my NYC. You just leave my so that's how I will continue. It was with Renmoney, right? My colleagues did not even know I was a copper. Like when I go to the office every Friday, they don't know I was a copper. They didn't know I was a copper. Right? The company after I moved from there, I moved to Aja, right? The company I lived in, they did not know I was a copper. I don't wear the copper uniform. What I do is like it's in my bag. I don't know if I'll get in trouble for this part of the story. I'm not talking about it. But they did not know. They didn't know I was a copper.
Makes sense. So in all of this, right? What did you learn at Renmoney? Because I'm sure it opened you to like payment systems, right? I guess you got into like Renmoney as a mobile engineer, right? If I'm correct.
Yes.
Awesome. So what were like some lessons that you learned compared to like what you've been doing at Soft School and what that taught you and how you are using it in what you're building today?
Okay. So for Renmoney, I think Renmoney was like my very first introduction to fintech per se, right? So and when building fintechs, like you have to be extra delusional, right? I'm very careful. Back then in soft codes, because mainly some things we mainly did there was around normal contemporary softwares as more commerce, education, edtech, and the rest. I've not actually really gotten that like core fintech experience. Funny enough, in Renmoney, I was like the first hire because their system were initially built like native, Kotlin, under Java, then Objective-C or so. So they tried to do like an overhaul. So I was actually the first hire that came in. Like, so I really set up the whole entire infrastructure for what it is today, right? The mobile app and everything, right? So I think one thing then coming from soft code, soft code was more of like we call it an informal organization, right? A bunch of curious kids running a company. We actually tried to put in some laws and all, but so many laid back, not really laid back, not laid back per se, but so many informal, like, so when back in school, we were trying to put in rules. So the rules were feeling kind of like, we're doing too much. So, but, coming to the bank, if my finance bank is like, there's this structure. So initially, I had this like, bank, like, tie, dress, and but funny enough, that was not the case. it was in as much as there's structure in place, right? But in terms of maybe looks and feel, like it was very flexible. I don't know, maybe because we're engineers. Most time I come to your office looking very homeless. And it was like after jumping Lagos traffic and all, like imagine from Aja to Ikoyi. After doing that, when I entered the office, like air scattered, like entered, like I think during where customer support and the rest. When I entered, I could feel that gossip in my skin. Like, who is this guy? Like I was looking with my shorts, I was putting on slippers, like my hair scattered. So I was like sleep deprived. Like just entered one of the gaming rooms, and that's when I was laid down like So when I came like I remember like why these guys like so who did Renmoney hire? So but aside that, and it was actually a very chill place, right? I think they actually I think looking at this corporate organization from outside, I saw like this very rigid environment. So, but what the experience I got in Renmoney was totally different. Like my first week, they were doing like a 3 billion naira profit party. Man, I was like, is this why have I not been working since? Like DJs, like DJ at the top, DJ at the bottom, like during towards the evening, they turn the office like glows. I'm like, okay, what is going on here? Like, is this how you guys so do? So, but regardless of all these things, there was like a structure to work, right? Working with, we got like 2, 3 more hires, like working with like colleagues, like collaborating with like a large cross-functional team, Scrum methodology. So those are things I actually learned. Scrum methodology, full entire structure, cross let's say cross team collaboration from the PM, designer, because we had testers then, like we're always fighting, throwing tickets back. Jira notification was traumatizing you. You're calling like, bro, fuck this up, man. It's just botting now. Guy say it not work. See, put my foot now, it's backend now. See, it does not matter. He says he tested it not work. I'll call backend now for the app. Like, things like that. So he just gave like your constitutional team, and I think it actually got me to understand like, money in terms of like security, the whole concerns around money, around money basically, like how emotional your customers can be with money, right? Because if we had guys using Renmoney app, any small thing, they've called me for, well, your app is not working, what's going on? Because that one, you're saying is your own. It's you that we know. Leave the company. We know you. You're the one building the app. Why is the app not working? So I actually learned a lot. I'll be honest, like from Renmoney, like working in a corporate place. There's a change of administration, came with a lot of changes. So it just taught you how to actually morph into like your environment. From no matter how rigid management can be to how flexible it can like way to navigate, right? Navigate such environments. Learn a lot of stakeholders management. That's actually one of the very important skills actually learn working in such firms like stakeholder management, right? Because you have management coming for your neck, like, oh, we want this by so time. Why is this not happening? Maybe the issues might not even be because of you, external factors, but you should be able to actually manage that situation, right? Also, I actually learned a lot from them. I actually learned a lot from them. Yeah.
It sort of like brings up like a follow-up question, right? Which is sort of like, by any chance, would you say that for founders, they need to immerse themselves in like the corporate world? For engineers who turn founders, right, they need to first immerse themselves into the corporate world so as to learn those systems, or you can just go solo and then learn on the way.
Yes, you can go solo and learn on the way, but you know, for you see that if you look at founders that has like corporate experience compared to those that don't, like you see that results is different, manner of approach is different, right? You go try to go on Twitter and you see somebody complaining, oh, so this guy is a very uncautious, like he's not a professional somebody, this and that. So many of these things is because many of the persons maybe they do not really have this whole corporate experience, because as much as corporate system might be very rigid, the chain of command, but it teaches certain things. It teaches certain things. The beauty of startups is like this whole the speed to decision making, right? Oh, we can be working on this today, and due to one or two things, man, we're scrapping this and starting something else tomorrow, right? You naturally not get that in large corporate firms, right? Because there's a lot of risk analysis. So that can be good and bad, right? In both ways, it can be good and bad in both ways. So, but I think having a corporate skill, right? It's actually a plus to you, because you will actually be able to manage your stakeholder management skill. Not just your product now, your customers, like your teammates, and when you get like into ventures and the rest, you're actually able to manage VCs and like the expectations. So that things you actually build unconsciously when you are working in such firms. I have a friend that she works across taxation, banking, and all. So when it comes to money handling, she she's like she's financially literate, right? That's a skill I did not have. So back then when we met, I was just spontaneous, like, oh, just she was one like, ah, fuck, you have to calm down, let's not have to leave, or this and that. So so that's a skill she actually picked up working in that firm. So imagine me being that spontaneous, and I'm handed like a large check for, like, maybe you're surprised that that's why people do and undo, because it's not because they are bad persons or they are this. It's just because they lack that skill and that organizational skill, that management skill. So maybe I'm sure that's why many on tech Twitter, many things actually happen on tech Twitter because of this.
Oh, nice. I think I like your perspective to that. So it's a mix of both, but like if you do have that, you can maximize that
Yeah,
experience. And I think if you do not, you should basically like learn from people who do, from like what and how they.
exactly.
Yeah, it brings me to like the next curious thing that I want to talk about, which is like, why did you then leave Renmoney, and how did you like transition into Web3?
Okay. How do I transition to Web3? Like I said, I spoke about how I got uh, introduced to Solana like 2022, the NFT season and all, but I didn't really do much then, right? So, but I think one thing about working in certain firms, if you notice many of the founders, right, that build certain products, if you look at their life, they spent their life majorly in the environment of what they are building. We tend to build from an environment standpoint. So I think I've always been like, oh, this old fintech-ish, like thinking and all. Fast forward back to, I think, 2023, myself and my co-founder then, for Build Space, we worked on Trigger. Trigger was a death tech solution. That's end of life service. If you die, what happens to your passwords and the rest? That was our mindset. So how did I come about that idea? I was reading. There was a interesting story that happened back then. Is it Quadrigo's FX? Quadrigo FX, a major exchange back then in Canada. That I think there was a lot of mismanagement. I think he went to India. He got married, went to India for honeymoon. He died, and they found out that funds were locked in wallets and they could not access the keys and no dead man's fish and no dead man. So that's really just sparked that. So like this is actually a problem. Like if it happens to me today, you today, like how do you get your death is not something everybody plans for. It's unexpected. It's not like you say, oh, I'm dying next tomorrow. Okay, if I die, this is my passport. No, it just happens most times. Accidents, sickness, and the likes. So that was really brought about Trigger back then, a death tech solution. So we built Trigger on that Build Space. Build Space was like a nights and weekend program. If you build, might actually get funded, kind of. So we built it then. Me and my co-founder, Jazwy, we worked on that. So from there, we moved. Nigeria and debts. Nobody wants to think about debts. When you say what's the debt? I beg. So what happened when you say if you die, they don't think about that. Like it's like I beg, count me out. That kind of attitude. I think the app is still on App Store, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm not sure the backend is still live though. Because it was actually built on with AWS serverless. That's SAM serverless template and all. So from there, we actually built escrow. So we built escrow, buying and selling easy. And so we even built our escrow was, I don't know, I would say it was like one of like the best, if that gone at like mad as single passwordless, like the single sign-on. When you create transactions with like a seller gets this transaction on their email, right? They can actually attend to it with that on their email. It reflects real time. Like, so that was the idea. So you're dealing with somebody, the person doesn't have to come on the app, attends to it wherever he is on his email. We're even looking towards USSD. So it will send that either email or phone number, like they'll attend to it maybe on their fish, Nokia Touch. So that was what we built. But after that, we were overthinking this thing, like, oh, what if bank escrow license, this and that. So we actually revamped the project. Okay, let's build it B2B. Whatever we're doing, right? Let's wrap it B2B. Let's save it to banks, to power banks, to save to their customers, right? So that project is still on. We had our fair share of interviews and meetings and questions here and there. So we just put on the hibernation. Like it's something that we actually have we have a Telegram board that is running, but the OBTB pattern is just on hibernation. I think there's a new customer that actually reached out that were in communication. We are going to save that one. So these are just like my this is how I get into like fintech, money management and all. So back then in 2023, we traveled to Ghana. Did like a on budget vacation to Ghana. So when we go to Ghana, there was this whole restriction around payments. Like, shit. I think the only saving my only savings in Ghana back then was at we actually got one of the agents. I actually got one of the agents' phone number. So what happens is when I want to make payments, I'll call him, I'll send him Naira. He will send the CDs to the person. Like at that point, I was not thinking about rates. Just send the money. So when I got back, he just gave like his own restriction. Like, why can't payment be this like stress free and all, right? So, and once I kept in mind was what blockchain. That's what blockchain is all about. Borderless, regardless of national, regardless of wherever you are, receive money, send money, and all. I was sketching like I actually have like a small book. I do like a lot of writings, I write a lot. Like I was sketching the idea, like the flow. I was sketching everything, running through my co-founder because we're living together. So that's how we really just like fine-tuned the idea. So initially, I even built like a prototype, no UI. Like I was testing out, I was exploring blockchains. I explored like Ethereum, Gorand, Solana. I was exploring blockchains. Like, okay, what would be the best for us to get whip out this solution? I built like a dummy app on Gorand. I built on Solana. I built on I think I explored Stellar back then, but I didn't really do much of Stellar. So I actually just chose Solana. Why? Okay, the fees are quite low, they are fast, and like the ecosystem is very accepting, right? So that's how we started. Actually, we started building. We built Guava, right? That was so we started. So Guava, we started Guava 2025. Mid 2025, there was this hackathon that actually ran. The plan was to build Guava for 3 months. 1 month hackathon. So we built Guava within that 1 month. So we submitted. They did not accept us. We did not win. Even mentioned, they never mention us. I just kept on. The idea was not aside the hackathon. We're building aside before the hackathon, right? We want a solution to actually go out there. So every day, like if you actually meet me anytime my system, go back to always on my system. I'm always looking at the app. So you just see like everything was just more of demo and the rest. I just kept on looking at the system, looking at it like, how can this thing be improved? How can we improve? The fact that the idea of Guava was I'm spending crypto, Naira, like wherever I am. So if I'm in Ghana, I should able to spend my crypto there. If I'm in US, that was the idea of Guava. So I just kept on looking at how best can this thing be improved? How best can this thing improve? I don't see the show by back there, this flow. Select your country, select your bank, put your account number, put the amount, and pay. Like that was very weird flow to me. Like it should be very, like I don't know, it should be very flexible. And someone that has done that very well is OP, right? If you meet me, it's almost as though like I work for OP, where I advertise OP. I'm like, oh, and this is OP. You're really missing. So I had like OP as a reference point. I enjoy using OP. Like payment is just very simple, very simple. So I'll bring OP, okay. So I kept on retreating, like, okay, how can we improve this? How can we improve that? How can we improve that? Like go out today, I can boast and say, the time to transfer 4 to 5 taps, it should be done with the transfer on Guava. We all kept on improving. If you've done a transfer to somebody, we actually, what it does, if you're typing account number, it caches it, shows you your results. We created that with Guava. We even went on to do like a capture. So what happens is that once you want to do a transfer, you just like open your camera, OCRO, captures the account number. We even built our bank suggestion, right? So it was not really as people are doing more transfer, it's getting smarter, right? So what happens is as you open Guava to make a transfer, there's the camera button. As it scans the bank account, it suggests the bank. So first tap, scan account number, right? You get the account number, bank, it suggests the bank, right? You tap, second tap, put in your account, when you put it on second tap, so it has resolved, like, why that is resolving on the amount now, there's not like pre-filled amount, 500, 1,000. So you don't have to open and type amount. Most times it's just 500, just tap and let's say. So assuming you're doing 5,000 rand, type 5,000 rand, second tap, then you need to put your narration, continue, your Face ID, scans, boom, submit, like that's it. So I was just looking at this thing. So this was what we did like 2025. We've not even released the app to say. I just kept on looking at the app. Okay, how can this be improved? How can this be improved? How can we improve on this thing? How can we improve on this thing? Because I don't see sure I'm doing a transfer and it feels very rigid. Like, oh, I'm like, is this? I don't really like that. She's very, dynamic and very fast. That has actually got into this whole, like, I got back into Web3 because, mind you, I've explored Solana 2022, right? So this is me coming back to Solana. Then after that, so that what we did with Guava. We're trading, we're working on 9 to 5, working on Guava. So Guava we're committed to it, but I had a team. Everybody's working, so you cannot require everybody to be once when you're not paying. You're doing your work. Oh, have you done this? Okay, no problem. When can you do that? That's how it was until we actually did like a launch September 2020. It was not. Funny enough, right? Up to now, we've not even done any ads on Guava, right? It was just more organic. So we're actually looking to do like start doing more marketing. After Guava, after Guava was then Pollinet. Next was Pollinet, right? So Pollinet. Remember when Twitter was banned in Nigeria, right? Twitter ban. Yeah. So that happened, right? I think subconsciously it just created something in my head I did never know. So last year, 2025, we were just discussing, myself and my younger brother, we were just discussing like about this whole offline, and we were just discussing about Web3 as a whole, how it's decentralized, like how just about this. We also spoke about that. I think that was when Jack Dorsey actually released BitChat. We're even playing with BitChat, like, oh, in case anything goes to telecom, when there's like, AI, we're just talking AI, everything. There's like it's not doomsday, but get the idea, like, oh, we're competing with Bluetooth and the rest. So you just don't know, like, why can't we transact with Bluetooth? Why can't blockchain work via Bluetooth? Like, that was the question actually started everything. Why can't blockchain work around Bluetooth? So I just started researching, like with AI now, researching is very, 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 very smooth, faster. So I got researching the whole concept. Oh, okay, how possible can this be? Because now we have something called durable nodes. How can I utilize this for offline transaction? Okay, how creating a mesh? What is like the size of data Bluetooth can transmit over Bluetooth for how long? Do I have to pair my device to pair with this person's device before I can do a transaction? Okay, there's something as GAT session. There's a little handshake that happens without pairing. So just get all researching and all. So I published like the white paper on Git pages. I created a repo. Back then, I never do anything much on this. I just created a repo, published white paper, created the X page. I think I even did the website with Lovable back there. I just did the website and I left it. After I went back to, I was focused on Guava, Renmoney, and like, so I went back to 9 to 5 Guava. Then I just got the feeling like, oh, let me apply for a grant with this. Let's see what comes out. Like, I've been having the feeling, I've just been dismissing because mind you, I applied for a grant with Guava and so I'm like, okay. So when I sent in the application, I think normally the review process is like, they'll tell you 6 weeks. If you apply for a grant, 6 weeks and over. Right? I got a response the next day after applying. I did not see it like the following day. So when I saw it, I was like, okay. So she was asking about this. So we were just conversing via emails back and forth. So it's like, how much am I using? Like, stated the amount. And she was like, oh, I'm approving the grant. I was like, okay, what is going on here? So that was like the major indicator that actually like signal that I actually need to start building Pollinet. It's a nice idea, right? I actually need to focus on start building Pollinet. I started the initial SDK November. Tested the whole concept on built the core Rust protocol. Tested everything, like just trying out in January. So I just found out that as much as I was building and working, like Renmoney has taught me a lot, but I think I had this feeling like, oh, it was time to leave, right? It was time to leave because I needed lots of time.
So just to confirm, you were doing this while at Renmoney?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I was doing like Renmoney, we have a contract now, 9 to 5. So after that, after normal work hours, we're back to our side hustles, right? So that's why the late nights and no weekends, no weekend off to try and push to meet up for lost times. So while all this was going on, I felt like this was like, oh, it's time to actually leave, right? Because the commitment Renmoney, I needed to give this a more, like, I have to focus on this, like, I have to lock in on this, like, there's a good, like, signal. All these were, like, good indicators, like, oh, like, I had to, like, leave. I need to lock in on this full time, right? Because, most times, you find out that, oh, maybe Renmoney, I'm on a call from morning down to the evening. And when you finish with work, like, you're already fagged out and trying to, it was not missing again. It was not missing. It was like, there was just this feeling like, oh, it's that time, like, you actually have to move on. It was scary because imagine, like, this was my, like, a stable source of income. Salaries and all. You are leaving that to doing you, per se, like, trusting in yourself or building your team. It's fun to talk about. But when it's time to take action, you now find out that it's not as fun as it is, right? So I found out I spoke to my girlfriend and she was like, are you sure? I just told her, I said, there's a reason why Abraham, not Sarah, that was going to sacrifice Isaac. Maybe if I had told Sarah, we won't be Abraham today. Because Sarah would have held you like, my son. And funny that all these things are things out of love, right? Because many times our families have want to protect out of love because they don't want you to take risk and all, like everything saying like this is risky or this is risky, and they're trying to protect you. But both sides, that's not what you want at that point. I had to call her like, see, this what I'm about to do. It's not easy for me. At this point, you should just believe, right? Whether I'm making a mistake or not. So what's that will happen? I will start job hunting back. I will start I will dust my CV and let's start. But it will not get to that. You just have to believe, like, regardless. She was like, yeah, sure. She trusts me. So that was like my letter. Funny enough, I think I've been having a feeling. I typed my letter in December. I just left it. I've typed the letter down. This is December. It's just to submit it. So I finally, someone with courage and sent it in February. I'm like, oh, it's been a great time here, but I just hope you guys fair way, my line manager, like could call, like, wow, it's actually so, like, he's like, see, man, you actually miss me. See, like, I have from now, when I said you're the spirit, I have from now 30 days to change my mind, and you will fight management to really ensure that they keep me. I know, I was like, thanks for the offer, but I just think I have to just. So it was very, it was scary at first. It still is, right? But I think since leaving, I've had like a lot of time to focus on like Pollinet, focus on Guava, especially Pollinet. For Guava, I have like a team, so I don't tend to do much work there. So my main focus has been on Pollinet. I've had a lot of tractions since then. A lot of tractions. We've hosted like a hackathon with Spartan Georgia, Siren AI. We had like 4 projects integrating Pollinet. Excuse me. Since then, we got spotlighted by Monkey DAO. We've done like a mainnet transaction. Like it has just been, I think, it has been like uphill. I believe we're gradually entering that flow state. And when you hit flow state, like things just start working, like ways and everything. Like wow, almost about entering flow states, right? But it's just been very good so far.
Makes a lot of sense. I love how you're connecting all the dots and sharing the details of the story. Because the reason for this is that quite a number of people can also pick from like your journey. It's really like a bold move to quit your job and then go focus on like your own adventure, right? Really, really difficult because quite a number of people will be like, have you lost your mind? You have a stable job and all of that. I guess the Solana grant was the activation point for you because I also have like a thesis that if you want to venture into something, you should quickly test the profitability or like the viability of it. And one of the ways to test the viability of it is that will people pay for this thing? Will people be able to give me money to go work on this thing? And I think the Solana grant was like the thing for you to test like the viability. Can you
Yeah.
walk us right? Talk
So
about
that
like
push, like
yeah, right. Amazing. I know you've talked about Guava and also like Pollinet, right? Can you walk us through like the architecture of Pollinet? Because I'm really, really curious about like the offline transaction thing and how people can send transactions from the mainnet. And just walk us through why you built that and the various uses, right?
all right. So for Pollinets, right, there's a lot of uh, downtimes. We experience that a lot in Nigeria. No connection. Most times MTN would want to stain your white shirts. Sometimes I think maybe they plan it. I don't know. I'm like, oh, let's mess these guys up today. Airtel is doing their own, MTN is doing their own. Like you're in a call, they can only see, but they can't hear you. Like imagine how can you explain that you are so that's the reality of Africa most times, right? That's the reality of Africa. There's censorship. Even till today, right? We cannot access Coinbase, Solana, like all these major blockchains without VPN, right? So even funny enough, many people they don't really feel it, right? Because you are building a product, you're hosting it on AWS, you are provisioning a server where in EU, Ireland, US, right? So your server is in a place that is not censored. You're submitting. What happens if there's a government ban there? That's when it's not a problem until it's a problem. You now start running, you start disturbing your DevOps engineer, your backend engineer. What's going on? Transfers are not going through. Those engineers will be sweating like, it was working this morning now. All our status are green. What's going on? Like, before you know, you spent like 18 hours debugging. There's a ban on that. We now start costing like what's going on. Like we now start moving. So these are the realities. Like you can see what happened in Tanzania last year. There was like a shutdown. So what do you think happened for businesses? that period that we're measuring your line. So assuming you have a app or a product, like it means at that point, like your user cannot transact. You can't send money, you can't receive money, you can't transact, right? So that's the reality of times, right? That's the reality of times. If we are looking very carefully, we see that there's a trend, right? Even when you're in marketplaces, a place with dense crowd, like you find out that network is messed up. Like if I go to Balogo Market, Jesus Christ, that place, I'll start walking like walkie-talkie, trying to find network where network is not. So these are the realities of things, right? So that's some of the enablers for Pollinet, right? So when we say offline, Pollinet is not removing the internet. You cannot remove the internet. Internet is connection of computers, because Google you're opening somebody's computer you are reaching out to accessing via like connected nodes and all. So Pollinet basically what it does, it creates an alternative route to the internet, right? So once you understand this, I think the concept of wallets, let's think of the concept of wallets like let's think of the blockchain like a bank account, right? Think of a wallet like your account number or a checkbook, like your personal account within the bank, which is a blockchain. You can actually write a check, give so person 50,000 naira or 500k, give the person the check. Person goes to the bank to cash the check. So you've signed the check. You go to the bank to cash the check. That's basically what blockchain is, right? In very simple terms. Because you have a private key, your signature, you sign transaction, and the blockchain authorizes the movement of that funds and all. That's what basically happens. So we're bringing that. That's the concept we're bringing. We're riding on, right? So that check is your transaction. That sign is what's pre-signed. That can be done offline. You don't need the internet to do a sign to sign. It can be done offline, right? So once you pre-sign this transaction, okay, using so transaction DEG is it 555? I mean 2215 cover. So I tend to miss some of the number. What happens is that's the signature. Once it signs that intent, right? That intent is being handed over. So if somebody gets that intent and tries to manipulate that intent, because of the saying, invalidates that signature. It's not invalid, right? So your check, if you've cashed your check, right, you cannot say maybe you make a copy of the check and you go up to the bank again to go and cash the check. They'll arrest you. Replay attack. They'll arrest you. Right? So these are the concept principles that Pollinet works with, right? What happens with Pollinet is that when you are offline or maybe due to this internet issues, you write a check and you sign it. Your intent is signed, and this intent now we compress it and break it into fragments. Then we distribute it across our wireless networks. Bluetooth currently, like our system now, we have Bluetooth currently fully working. We are moving to Wi-Fi Direct, right? We'll be moving to LoRa. We'll move to direct satellite uplink. So these fragments are being distributed to every Pollinet-enabled devices around you, right? So everything is being distributed. So what happens is that you don't have network. The transaction is going forward to look for network. So it's scattered across the mesh. So assuming you're in a place that has maybe you're in a crowd of 500 and over 70 has Pollinet-enabled devices because the wallet that they use integrated our SDK. They become a relay node. So what happens is that at that point, you're trying to do a transaction. This transaction is across all 70 persons. So it keeps on moving, trying to find internet and all. People are moving. Maybe somebody moves from a place, from that 500 crowds, maybe one person, he moves to a place of 200 crowds, maybe separate. The transaction has made its way to that place, across those places. So he's just finding transactions, finding access to the internet. Once he gets it, he submits it for you. The confirmation goes back the mesh, scattered. As it's landing on devices, it's invalidating maybe copies of that transaction that already exists. It's clearing them out. until it gets to the device that originated the transfer and they get a confirmation. So this might be very fast, depending on how dense the network, or might be slow, depending on how sparse the network. But you are offline. It's just that you just have the confirmation that, oh, your transfer has gone ahead of you and it's been submitted. When I was exploring those Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, you know, as like a 5 meter to 10 meter radius, depending on obstacles and likes. By exploring Wi-Fi Direct, which is longer, LoRa, which is way longer, for some others and all. Direct satellite uplink, devices like the Google Pixel, Samsung S25, and other devices that has access to uplink. Maybe, sure you are in the midst of those devices, those kind of devices are within your mesh. So aside moving through Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, it goes direct satellite uplink. So that is like direct satellite uplink and all. Submit it and you are done. So that's basically what Pollinet does. It creates an alternative route to the internet for wallets and dApp, so that they don't lose revenue, they don't lose transactions. Users can continue transacting.
Makes a lot of sense, right? Because I've also like heard of like a protocol called offline protocol. They basically like, you know, work for like this same reason, right? Where like they're privacy focused mesh networking for like communication, identity and payment, right? And so like when I heard about like Pollinet, I'm like, oh, this is really, really interesting. We need to get into like the roots of, you know, what you guys are building and how you guys are like building it. Thank you so much for like sharing the details. And I also like have like the concern for like the connectivity for like Bluetooth, but like mentioning like Wi-Fi Direct and uh, the what did you mention? It is third one. Alright, yeah, right.
Then
And
direct satellite uplink.
uplink that solves like the connectivity within like the network, right? Like
Yeah.
for closer reach. Yeah,
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. So from all of this, right, building like these two products, and I'm sure Guava uses Pollinet under the hood also.
Yes. So there's a pilot integration agreement between Guava and Pollinet. So Guava just concluded like a pilot test, and we actually did like a mainnet transfer. That's actually where we did our first mainnet transaction from Guava, like during the pilot phase. So, or down the road, but this is going to be shipped, I think, down the roadmap. The team has like some things actually working on that will be shipped.
Yeah, interesting. Can you walk us through like some lessons that you've learned building this technology? I mean, it's more like an unfamiliar terrain. What are some lessons that you've learned? Share some personal experience.
Okay, some lessons I've learned, first of all, is you have to be out there. I think some years back, I will not actually be on the podcast like this talking about I was using camera. No, I'm not just camera shy. I just don't know like many like coming out front and all. So, but our experience building certain products, you know that you have to carry your startup like head and run. People actually connect to you as a person, for rather than leaving the product. They want to know the person behind the product. If you notice, while building Pollinet, I did a lot of like personal narrative and like a live stream will just talk about that people actually doesn't know the face behind because it's a very interesting ecosystem whereby there are lots of scams that have gone on there. Can you imagine that somebody even launched a token with my project before I never noticed? Once when I brought my notice, like, oh, is this me? I didn't know. So I don't even know about that thing. So that was one way before I even launched like Pollinet, the Pollen token and all. So like someone actually went like months people are good though. Like months before this thing, they've launched like 2-3 months before I even this is so it's just I think what I've learned so far first of all is like you actually you need to actually like sell yourself, like you have to be out there, like tell your story yourself, right? People need to know you, like, oh, this is who this is this person. It's like this is the face behind this. These are the people behind this, right? Like on the personal level, like you need to sell your product like that personally. What else again about land? Man, There's no there. I think we all need this entry into this thing. There's no days off. Like when we see no days off, there's no days off. But you actually have to be cautious to try and get. There's no work-life balance. If you're trying to build something, it's when you've got a certain level you start thinking of work-life balance. What are you balancing? When your balance is not balanced, because you spend lots of like your money will go. It will drain you, like your personal funds and all. Like it's like a baby. Like you're investing and you're buying pampers. You're feeding this baby, like hoping that the baby does not die. So that's just basically what I've learned. Like I think the major thing is like showing up, like coming out. Like it was not very. It was. I think initially it's not so difficult. It's not. I'm not very great. I'm not say I've mastered it yet, but I'm getting there. Like I'm way better than how I was. Right. If you go through my first live streams and rest, you can catch some little sweat. Like just because I'm nervous, kind of. But
Yeah.
I think it's I'm getting more and more comfortable, like speaking on the camera and pitching. Like I've done like 3 pitches since I got to Malaysia, like 3 pitches. I did like a roast my pitch session with some judges. So we're roasting the pitch, this and that, able to be criticized and just take criticism, learn from it, like and also. But so that's things I've learned so far.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much for sharing. You mentioned Malaysia, right? Using Pollinet, right? What are you currently doing in Malaysia or network school? And what basically prompted like that decision? Is it part of like showing up and putting yourself out there and upping your market? What's the strategy?
Yeah, so it's showing up, majorly showing up. Like, okay, so uh, shout out to Adiyat, a big shout out to Adiyat, and because you create a tweet like, oh, so we actually scheduled a meeting with Adiyat, what preparation did. So we spoke about Pollinet and just introduced Pollinet. Like what I want doing basically now is like try, well, the OGs in using ecosystem. We're just like we're coming to that further faces. Like we've spoken to Vibu, like that's the chief product officer of Solana Foundation. Like he knows of Pollinet, right? When we did our first mainnet transaction, Precious messaged him like, oh, it was like, oh, congrats, Joseph, we're putting ourselves out there, like, okay, this is so that they know about what we're doing. Like this was putting ourselves out there. I was not really active on Twitter, but now I'm active, retweeting, quoting. I might not really post, but like I'm reading through what's going on within the ecosystem, maybe to stay up to date, right? So we got like a grant. I'm starting Malaysia, like a grant to a 1 month stay at network school, right? So shout out to Adiyat. So what happens was like we applied for network school and we got accepted. Then we applied for the grant, followed up and eventually got the grant. So funny enough, we also have been in Malaysia since April, but due to some visas back and forth, like it was actually very delayed. Actually, I think my visa got approved like towards third week of April. So I just took a show and like, okay, I'll be here by May. And let's see, like, I think once I try to believe, like, everything work out for our good. Like, let's not try. No, like, this is actually the best time to be here. So basically, we are here to Pollinet. Like, Pollinet is on my. I have my Pollinet. I'm most surprised I know where the shirt. Like, I printed like shirts before coming here. Like, I'm here to Pollinet. My first day, like, talking about Pollinet, like, I've done like 3 pitches. Hawking Pollinates, right? So basically, what we're here, we're here to relax, first of all. At least we're here to relax, have a good time, and in midst of that, sell Pollinates.
Amazing. Tell us your experience in Malaysia network school generally.
Okay, it's cool. Like it's a very nice one. coming from living from Nigeria, actually, let me call them. Let me call her out. She knows herself. You sold an eSIM to me that did not work. I'm coming for you. In case you are seeing this. So, but on getting here, the locals they are very warmly, they're very homely, welcoming, and I've tried lots of dishes. Right, you need to see me when I was at Kuala Lumpur, waiting for my flight to Johor Bahru, Kampong and Johor Bahru. I went like there was a place noodles. I had to take some Penang noodle soup. Like you need to see me my chopstick. I was fighting with my chopstick. I felt like Naruto trying to like wave Marshall the closure. So I just at the point I was like I just dropped it. Like you know what? Let me go back to my fork. You know. So but so far it's actually been a very good experience. Right? You know, you get to meet people. I've met lots of persons. Met guys from Uganda, South Sudan, India, Vietnam, US. Like I've met diverse persons, right? So it's even like even unlocked like a new skill, like you know, connecting with people of different cross-cultural connection. Right? That's another skill, right? That I'm learning, or yes, I'm learning per se, right? Because you meet people from a different background. You also hold a conversation that is both mutual, right? Try to find like a mutual footing to know about them, the experience. So it's just been a very nice one. The weather is very good, right? Very good. So I'll say so far, like it has been a very great experience, like a very good experience. Yeah.
Amazing. So thank you for sharing and letting me know about like the experience about like how Malaysians are like homely and like very welcoming. So like fun fact is that I applied for like Malaysia digital nomad visa at a point. I think like late last year, right? And for some reasons, yeah, I was denied. I don't know, but then I didn't bother to sort of like um do like is it an appeal or whatever. I
Okay.
just left it, and I'm like, okay, yeah. And I've also heard of like network school, um, right? And I'm like, maybe one of these days I might just apply and just flying. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing
Like
that.
it's a very great place. So like the environment is really good. Like the network stick, like the environment that brings like people of it's like-minded people to like it's really good, really good.
Yes, yes, yes. Now let's get into some personal things, right? Like you've been talking about faith and also quoting scriptures, right? Walk us through like your faith system, right? Are you a Christian? You know, and
Yeah.
how's that
Okay.
been?
All right. Yes, I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian, right? I believe Jesus Christ died to save us. You know, I think one thing I know being a Christian is like one of the most important currencies as a Christian is to actually believe, right? That's what actually endorses the life. That's also endorses the right to be called Christians, right? Because don't need to do much. Don't need to say like just believe that Jesus Christ actually died to save you and accept him, right? So it has actually. Remember, I said like I was sick, very sick, almost onto death, right? That was way back 2019. Like if I should share a video of how I was looking, I'm not sure if people will not believe. Like I was like my neck was very long. Like, man, I'm back. I was still in school back then, and you know, people I was living with. You know, when you're staying with like your house space and all, if you are reducing, you don't know. They don't know because why they're seeing you every day. As if you like brains auto adjusting. It's people that have not seen you for a while. I tell you like, what's going on? You've lost weight, right? So back then in school, I was like, people were like, oh, I remember what's going on. Are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. Like, I feel fine. Like, but back then I was having like severe waist pain. I've gone for like extras. I went for left pelvis, right pelvis, lumbosacral, like everything came out. Nothing like, oh, maybe it's just mechanical pain. That was just what they kept saying. Mechanical pain. I was on painkillers. And people kept on asking, like, oh, what's going on? What's going on? It was a friend of mine that when she saw me, she was like, "Ah, what's going on?" I was trying to laugh at her, like, oh, I'm fine. Like, but she was dead serious, like, come talk to me. So actually, I said, sit back and say, what's going on? Like, what are people actually saying that is making them ask these questions? And so, I went home. My mom saw me, she screamed. Like, she literally screamed. Like, if you see me coming, like, you just see you just see my neck on top of something, my head on top of something, called a body. Like, I was that lean. I went to the hospital, I did lots of tests. Full liver function, blood, everything came out right. So I think the next I was just laughing and so everything just changed. Like one of my discs in my spine collapsed and next thing I was being rushed, emergency, to Benin, MRI, thing just turned like I came back, I was leaping, I was walking like my walking movement got worse and worse and worse. I was using walking stick. Back in writing exam, my friends like I was using boats from the house to school. They would to me, they'll give me their shoulders, like they'll carry me. Like you see my waist, this toy, my waist will just dance. If you suspend me, my waist will just be like, and breeze is blowing. To be moving like this. It was really crazy. Like every day I was coming for exam, like I think I was taking a step closer to the grave, like a step closer. Like people were saying like life was invading me basically. It was only that I found out that when I think my last paper I wrote, I was not coming from Warri to Benin to write the paper. A cab would take me back and forth. So it was after later I recovered, people noticed that my classmates actually organized and did like a prayer session for me. They prayed for me like God save him. Like God save him. And God did. So when I got back to Warri, my temperature spiked, like everything. I was admitted. When I got to the hospital, I was admitted, and the next thing, like, oh, I want to book me for surgery. Like, I think 2 or 3 days later, I think like 2 days later, we will book for surgery. Like, after my body stabilized, the day of surgery, my temperature went up, I was throwing up, my eyes were red, like, I was throwing some green things. Like, the doctor was like, oh, you can't carry me to surgery like that. I have to stabilize, no? And before surgery, we never eat. Like, I was very hungry. I was like, so no food, no water. So I went, and mind you, I don't like hospitals. Like, I don't like hospitals. I think my biggest testimony in all this was how God helped me against the spirit of fear, right? Because fear kills. Like, fear is so strong that I think that he said God gave 3 things to fight fear: love, peace, and sound mind. Like, those are 3 things that fear strips away from you, strips them off. So on the day of my surgery, I was taken to the theater. I was like on the wheelchair in front of the theater, a very bright white room. Like, I was just there. I was just numb. This is somebody that doesn't like hospital. My first time being admitted, I'm going in for a major surgery. Like, it's supposed to be panicky. Oh, what if? I was just in front of the hospital. I was just there. I was just numb. I was just looking at everything happening. So when they took me, they put me down. They pour morphine. Is it morphine or my nose? Like, you just breathing. It's like in movies, like everybody just goes dim. And the next moment I woke up, I was throwing up. Like, I was very cold when my body was open for like I think like 8 or 9 hours surgery. So I was shaking. We were doing blood transfusion. Like, oh, mom, the blood. Like this. Like I was just it's just happening. Like I was, how it happens in the movie. Like my break would not even fun. Even like I would like it was happening. Like, oh, look at your parents. I was like. So after everything, they took me up to the private ward. I was crying that night, like, I want water. I want water. After surgery, you don't drink water now. It's instant death. Cough the anesthesia. Don't where. I'm like, she can't give me water. I was crying, like, I was like, hey, she should not help me. Hey, she should leave. Like, I was saying, God, though. I think that was just like more something 1 million. Drip and daddy go and daddy. I think after that, after everything, when they transferred me back to my ward, when they lifted me up, I was not crying though, but one tears just like just rolling from my eye. Just rolling like I was in severe pain. So this was a very striking thing that happened when I was in my ward. I was like in the surgical ward, we were 3. So I've left the private ward like a public and all. So we were 3 persons in the room. So they brought in somebody called Louis, right? His name was Louis. I think he had intestinal complications. You have to do like exercise surgery for him. So what basically means that for a number of days, like there's no eating, no drinking water because his bowl has to be empty. There's a night out, so Louis was there. His sister was looking over. My mom was the one staying with me. She actually like literally slept on the floor, duvet or like God bless that woman. So that night, I was up. I think I really was sleep at night because I'm always up. I'm always staying on the ceiling and up. So that night, I was up. Louis, like curtains and all. So sister was calling her, Louis. Louis was not responding. Louis was not responding. Like Louis has gone. First I felt like, but the voice came very quiet and he stopped responding. Louis. Something told me that Louis is dead. Like I heard it like Louis is dead. But I just said the word of prayer, like, God please. That's the thing I could pray about. I was like, God please. If not for anything, for the fact that my mother is here, this guy cannot die. Because I did not know how she would take it that, somebody beside her actually died. I don't know how to hit her. So that was just the only thing I could pray about. Like, if not for anything. For the fact my mother is here, don't let this guy go. So I slept off. And I had a dream. In a dream, it was like a game. I think like a game. Louis was a player. I was a player. Louis' life like one. It was very, very funny. So Louis' life was like 1 bar. It was going off. Then somebody came. He had like tattoo of stars on his hands, right? So he drew like he opened his hands and the stars left his hands. Louis got like 2 life. You know where life went to? The last one entered my hand too, like everything. Then I woke up. And I was like, at that point, like I experienced a miracle. Louis came back. And I think I've not really told much persons about this. That was just the experience. And like Louis came back. And the miracle for me was this. What happened to me was, is it paralysis also? Like I was literally paralyzed from my hip downwards. My legs were dried, almost dead. I recovered within 3 to 4 months. And this happened during my 400 level second semester. So first semester is actually IT period, like a 6 months IT period plus 1 month break. So that's when actually this whole saga happened. So when my mates were doing IT, I was doing physiotherapy. And so when I came back, I started doing physiotherapy. Move your leg, try and move your thumb. You see me with my Zima's frame. I was like moving. So my friend, like I should suspend on the air and breathe is blowing. My voice would be like this story, just like there's no muscles. Like my gluteus muscle was fully deflated. Like I could not go to the toilet. It was that bad that I could not go to the toilet. Like the day I went to the toilet, I could not poo. I was nothing. My mom had to press my butt. Like, thank God. Think about it, it's really crazy. Right? So when they were doing when my mates were doing IT, I was recovering. I was doing physiotherapy. I was going for therapy, like moving. I think back there, funny guys. There's this girl I met there. She actually had something similar paralyzed. She actually likes me because I was a handful. I was very funny. So she actually adjusted at this to fit my day. When I come, I'm always saying story. She be laughing, and I think that even kept her going. And so I actually improved very fast. Before long, I stopped using Zima's frame. I was just on using walking stick. From that, I stopped using walking stick. Like when I resumed back, then I soon went to do IT. I was able to do just 1 month. I don't know. When I went back to school, like I was looking very fresh, man. People were like, like the robot that they saw last, that was almost dead, and what they're seeing were entirely different persons. Like I was fresh, like I had got to like this I was fresh, man. I was feeling myself. I was feeling myself. Back then, I had this white Adidas, like my white shirt, and this when the sun hits everything, like man, gosh, yeah, I look so like some very like like I was feeling myself. So that you found out that like it was about like the story when I tell like I told the story to when he saw my friends my cousin's friends, he's a medical doctor, he saw the scar on my back, then he asked, he was looking at me, he was like, Amo, say what happened to me, say has very low survival rate. People that actually survive, they actually end up not working. Those that haven't worked are not working well. That's one. Another doctor I told it to, he just kept quiet. I said, "A miracle." That was his response. I'm not only working, I'm running, I play ball, like I do everything I should do. As though I've never. So all these things just shows like, man, see, there's God and he actually loves me. He loves everybody, but speaking, I'm just speaking like a personalizing. He loved me. Oof.
That's a lot to take in, right? And I'm not sure it's something you've shared before, like you mentioned, and like you mentioned, you're a miracle. And I guess that's sort of like spurred the intensity that there is a supernatural being, right? One who, cares for us, and one who, is just always there for us, right? Even in like our lowest times. Um, yeah, and I'm sure you take this even into startups because, like you mentioned, it's about believing, right? Which
Yeah.
is basically what you're doing. You're building in like an unfamiliar terrain, but you believe that this is like this works and everybody needs to hear about it. And so, yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I hope that somebody out there going through, one of their own hardest time also can just lean in and believe God for, you know, success, can believe God for taking them out of whatever mess that they are in. And your story sort of like, points that God still, is in the
He
business
cares.
of those.
He cares, right? Abba
Yeah.
Father is our Father, and no father will want to see their child suffer, right? He actually cares. It's just for us to open our hearts and just believe. He actually cares.
Something else that is personal is what are some biggest money investments and failure that you've made?
I'll talk about two. Okay, so one, let me talk about this one. This one was much, I think it was like 300 levels. So back then, there's something about, I went to a federal school, University of Benin. It was, during the start of semester, day, everywhere guides, pocket-wise, kitchen-wise, everything. But towards the end of semester, you now find out that something, I don't know what happens. Especially that exam period. It's always very, very tricky, right? There's this scholarship I was on, right? So they've stopped paying. And imagine like I was down to nothing. I just got an alert. They actually paid. This was like over 100,000 back then. He just paid. Jeez, I could not believe my eyes. Jesus Christ. Man, the levels don't change now. But you know, for thing, back then I was working on that CBT thing, right? I was just working on it. Yeah. So the funniest thing was that money I did not spend 1 naira, right, to buy dress or anything for myself. Everything went into the CBT program. I mean, I bought domain from Ostinja. 4 years because it was on promo and the rest. Bought hosting, bought domain, set up this thing, printed banner, did this, did that. Like everything went into the program. I had just one registration. Like it was that bad that I could not even go back to my father to say that I need money because he knows that that amount of money is into my account. Like imagine going back to him the next following week saying that you don't have money. Like how do you justify that? Hunger beats me. Jesus Christ. See, me and my guys, see, hunger. See, hunger almost blinds me. Like the prodigal son, I had to run back. Or like, sir, I have sinned. So when I thought everything, he just laughed. It's no problem. So he sent me something. Jesus Christ. Then fast forward towards my finance. Bro, I've always said in my mind that when I finish school, I'm not going to go back to my father's house. Funny enough, right? If I actually look back life, life is very interesting. Many things we've said, because the power of words and meant really happens. Might not really have. We're not conscious enough to take note. If I actually sit back to think about certain things, you find out that things that we'll be saying actually come to pass. Because I've always said that once I finish school, I'm not going to my father's house. I wrote my mom. I'm like, I'm renting my home. Even when I come back to I'm going to rent my own house. Why? I just said I'm not coming to my father's house. So when I finished school, before then, during my finance, that's when my friend reached out to me and that investment, it was going very well. Like I was seeing my money in my tradings, it was making sense. So there was a trade he took. This trade lasted for an entire month. Shit. We just look at this money, man. It was just the company. It was a German, like a stock, and I think the German company crashed. So I don't even know what happened. From me thinking that almost I withdraw, I'm going back home here. I'm going to take one 2-bedroom flat. I'll just move out. Me, I'm doing nice and rest, and I have my whole place. All my guys, I'm almost finishing with 2K. Alpha. I get 2K for there. Alpha. I get 2K for there. So, Jesus crazy. My now co-founder for Guava. If you see my call, you say, "Will come again." And funny enough, I could not even be mad because my friend that actually helped me, like he's actually helping me for the investment. He lost $450,000. So in the midst of my loss, I was praying for him. I'll call him. I'm like, bro, it's no reason, so we'll bounce back. I'm dying, I'm begging to kill. No reason, we'll bounce back. My eye out. So we'll bounce back. Don't worry. Don't think about it. It's just money loss can be gotten. Money loss can be gotten. Or more, but I still they sent me transfer fare to come to the house. Me that's how I go back and rent house. They sent me transfer fare. Oh yeah, come house. So when I go to the house, I think I went to the weekend. I carried my bag, bro, to Asaba, to go and sit in Asaba. I was there for the MOT. My NIIT call-up letter came out. So look at everything now. I did not go back to my father's house. Even when I went to this thing. From there, I came back to the NIIT for Lagos. I took my apartments and life status. So those are two investments, right? That nearly took me. That's beat me, but it almost took me.
Really, really interesting. I mean, like we all have that part of the story. I also had one like while I was serving too. But yeah, I think it turned out well. But then like I guess it was when the stuff did not crash. Then after I took out the money, I think the stuff crashed like some so after. So it looks like I was able to opt out before like the stuff crashed. So, yeah. I mean, it's really really crazy, experience. So now we are coming like to the end of like the podcast. What's one thing that you say to everyone watching, and just basically like final words before we move into like break the blog session?
Final words. All right. Okay, I think let me go all religious, right? And speak about just believing, right? I think this is more aside just religion, like whatever you're doing, I think we just need to just believe, right? And have faith enough to just trust the process, because even though things might not really work out, it's basically there's actually something to learn. If you actually look at life, Steve Jobs says, so you can't live life, you can't understand life going forward, looking forward, right? So you just have to trust in something, your instinct, your guts. Just trust in something and move regardless. Notice once you've gotten there, when you look back, that's when you cannot connect the dots. Say, oh, because I did this, that's why this happened and that. So we might not really see the end goal, right? But we can see where our next step. Just take it, and as you move further, the path will get clearer.
Right. We've heard from Oghenekparobo, believe in the process, trust your guts, and just go all in. Now let's move into like the break the block session, right? If you had abundant capital today, which African Web3 startup would you invest in and why? You cannot mention Pollinet or Guava, right?
If I have abundant capital today, will I be investing in Web3 startup? I think I'll be farming.
But yeah, like if you had the best, right?
Of course, invest, right? What startup will I invest in? There are lots of interesting startups currently ongoing, right? I think it's really hard to just pick one, but what will I invest in today? I'm coming, just give me money to actually just process. Okay, so within the Solana ecosystem, right? If I was to invest in any products, it will be more on like an infrastructure side of things. There's this product, Pash Cash. I think Pash Cash. Initially was B2C, but I can see it's moving more infra, right? So I think top of my head, I think that's one product that is worth investing in, right? Because I think my reason for is trying to consolidate, in terms of like liquidity, like in kind of create a platform where there's liquidity that everybody can just plug into to serve businesses. So either that or Paycrest. Because I like what Paycrest is doing, building like a liquidity provider whereby you have liquidity, you can actually provide for. I feel like that's like infra thinking. So that's another interesting what three product I was actually investing.
Awesome. So Patch Cash and Paycrest. Thank you for sharing. And also like your why really makes a lot of sense. The second part is like feedback for any Web3 products that you use. Do you have any feedback?
Feedback. Okay, so initially when Pascal launched, the idea of Pascal is very good, right? So, but it was quite limiting, whereby just one account number to a wallet. So I was like, my feedback back then would have been, like that should be more flexible, because the idea of off ramping, right, should be no ramp. It should be a case of whereby from the wallet, from your coin to whatever bank account, right? But I believe they've solved that. So feedback, right? I'm trying to tread tread carefully, right? So that someone don't misinterpret whatever I'm saying and take it like a fight and all.
You can give like your good feedback because you use the product. It could be like a dev tool. It could be like products. right?
Mm.
In like the Web3 space generally. Do you get?
So, but I think no. Aside that, what other products? Like what's wrong? Like when you have so many, just like so many ideas just running through. I'm trying to just pick one of them. Yes. It's I don't know if it's a game or as a apologies to people like I'm just calling just Solana products and like this like major space I'm currently into. I think they're called Rust Undead, right? And the idea is good, right? The idea is good, but I think when I tried using the product, and I think the feedback is be like, proper testing. Let's properly test like the solution, right, before you roll it out there. I don't know if it's just me, but my experience with it was not so good because there are one thing now. I think I'm currently stuck. Like this, the starting part of the learning process, because it's more of like a gamified learning process for Solana and all, right? So my feedback would be like let's invest more in testing. Like, this can be like general to measure every product out there, right? But let's invest more in testing because most times the product might work. It always works locally. It always work on my PC until it gets to other people's system, right? So my feedback is let's ensure that it's properly tested because I run into quite a lot of issues and bugs, and around the whole point of shilling a product is so that when people get there, they should be able to have like a smooth sale. But for me, that was not the case, right? So there's really a lot of investment into our testing. Hype and shilling can come later, but that should be the measurable of contention.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I think for anyone building like a product, invest in like testing your product end to end, right? Yeah,
Every scenario.
interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that. And so we have come like to the end of like the podcast, and so thank you so much, Oghenekparobo, for joining me today, sharing like your journey, insights as a founder, your journey through tech as an engineer as you moved from different roles to like CTO to like working at Renmoney, and also like your belief about God and how you encountered the supernatural. It's really, really, interesting and unique story. I trust that this conversation would inspire somebody and also get them to see the light from like what you've experienced. If this conversation made you curious about what Oghenekparobo and the team are building, be sure to follow him on X and check out Pollinet and also Guava Finance. And if you found this conversation valuable, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel for more conversations as this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.
All right. Thanks for having me. Bye.